Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilba, J Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at pitching on tonight's slate, 12 games here. I guess we can just at least hope for a better night than the pitching quality that we had.
I don't know
Tuesday.
I don't know what you're talking about. I completely faded Bumgarner. Other than 100% exposure or whatever it was. Last night, tonight, whatever we want to call it, this morning, I'm going to keep you guys guessing as to what it actually is. Jason's frozen. But I don't know. It was just an unfortunate night, but the hitters were fun. We will say that.
Yeah, I mean, the hitters were fun, but if you rusted Bumgarner, Fernandez, McCullers, anyone, I mean, you name it, it was a down night.
It was a downer. It's a Debbie Downer.
So we'll jump into it again here. Giants and Phillies. Johnny Cueto versus Aaron Nola. Johnny Cueto, I mean, I guess we're all just kind of begging for someone against the Phillies to not do anything bad. I don't mind Cueto. I mean, obviously in a good spot against a bad offense. Not a humongous strikeout upside, just 22% this year. But you do expect him to come away with a quality start and a win, being a pretty heavy favorite there.
Yeah, I think you certainly like that. The matchup's good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. After Bumgarner yesterday, I'm a little gun shy, but I mean, I still like this matchup quite a bit. I'm not worried about many bats in this Phillies lineup. So projected for 3 runs. I mean, Giants minus 180 favorites. It's all adding up to me.
It's all added up before, but
right.
I think you kind of look at this matchup, and now, I mean, obviously, you go up against the Phillies, you want to play usually most pitchers against them. But Cueto, I mean, I don't have that comfortable feeling with Cueto, just given the fact that he was bad against the Phillies at home. He's been bad in 2 of his last 3 starts against San Diego and Washington. You do want a little safety for nearly a pitcher who is up there in pricing.
He's been inconsistent with his strikeouts, and he just had 2 bad strikeout games that time. But, I mean, he has had 8 or more in 3 of his last 5. So there is that upside as well. Probably not a cash game guy, but at the same time, definitely going to be one of the first guys I look at in tournaments.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't mind him in cash just because I there isn't a lot to feel really safe about on this slate. So I think for him, it's probably the guy I feel most safe about, which just kind of says really everything about this slate. I don't mind him, and I'm not really looking to use Aaron Nola on the other side.
Right.
So Rangers and Orioles, Kevin Gausman versus Cole Hamels.
Wait a second. Did we just gloss over Aaron Nola? This is like a pod first, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us.
We talked about Nola in his last start, but we haven't talked about Nola in a long time.
I mean, we haven't talked about him in a good way in a while, but we at least give him his courtesy. Like, I know you were kind of a fan at the beginning of the year. We'd at least give him a mention like, hey, this guy's got some potential. Not tonight.
No, not in the matchup here. I mean, Giants offense is healthy. I mean, it showed last night. They're back to that relatively deep lineup that's tough to get through.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I was in on glossing over him. I was just mentioning the first for us. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been, it's been a pro podcast. I mean, through April and May, and then it's slowly
about Aaron Nola, and it's been a while.
All right, Rangers and Orioles, Cole Hamels, Kevin Gausman here. Cole Hamels, I mean, interesting GPP arm for me tonight. Obviously not a friendly ballpark, but you look at this Orioles team, 25th in WOBA against lefties, 21.7% strikeout rate. They did reacquire Steve Pearce, which should help out, but still overall, they haven't been strong against left-handers. So I'm a little bit intrigued with Hamels, but obviously there is some downside.
Yeah, definitely some downside. Again, kind of uncomfortable with him as a full-out cash game guy. But based on the slate, it might end up being where I head. Obviously, you're not expecting 12 strikeouts like you got last time out, but at the same time, like you mentioned, the Orioles, a little weaker against lefties. Obviously, Chris Davis is screaming for some strikeouts there. Still worried about Machado, though, and Trumbo, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some right-handed bats to be worried about, and the fact that they did add Pierce is another dangerous weapon that's going to benefit them against lefties in the long run here. Hamels, I mean, you look at the strikeout upside; it's been fairly solid this season. Hasn't been great, but still a decent strikeout potential in this matchup. And Hamels has been good on the road. Obviously, this isn't a great pitcher's park. It's definitely benefiting the hitters, but I'll definitely kind of take a stab. But I can't get behind him in cash. I think it's just more just a GPP move for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So on the other side, you got Kevin Gossman, and I'm somewhat intrigued here. Gossman, I think a lot of people are going to underrate in this Texas matchup. But you know what? There's a lot of lefties in this lineup. Obviously, you got Desmond, Beltry, and Lucroy now, but majority left-handers, and you look at Gossman, really strong against lefties. I don't know. I could definitely see him turning out a better than average start at a pretty weak price tag.
Well, no, it is a good price tag. I don't think I'm in on this, though. I don't think I want to get in on this. Obviously, Texas kind of got shut down yesterday, this morning, last night. But at the same time, I don't trust it. I like this lineup with Lucroy and Beltran in it, and I think it's going to hit pretty big pretty soon. So I don't want it to be when I'm in on Gossman,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a guy I'm going to have high exposure or any cash gain exposure to. It's just kind of a deep GPP play.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are going to be a similar thinking. And obviously, the additions of Lucroy and Beltran are something that's going to enhance that lineup. But I'll take a look at Gossman, but obviously a deep tournament play.
Well, like you mentioned, though, on DK 67, I mean, that's where you can start to take real shots, You only really need – 15 to 20. So, yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, definitely not a FanDuel play at 7,800. I'm not looking at him there.
Right.
Mets Yankees, it's Chad Green versus Steven Matz on the road here in Yankee Stadium. Steven Matz coming out somewhat of a disappointing start. I mean, he managed to kind of escape a lot of damage, but giving up 10 hits was certainly what we didn't expect of him against Colorado. Stepping into Yankee Stadium, I'm a fan of him in this matchup. I still really like that price tag on DraftKings. FanDuel, it's still a little bit out of my price range, 9,500. I might as well kind of spin up to any of those guys really over 10K. But DraftKings, I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I like Matz. I think this is a good matchup. Obviously, we've seen his strikeouts sort of stabilize at around 5 or 6 a game. But this is a good matchup for him. A lot of lefties. Obviously, Beltran out of that lineup now really shifts things around. And I mean, that's kind of an empty 3-4-5 now without him, Teixeira kind of forced into a big role here. And I'm not sure he's kind of up to that number 3 or number 4 spot anymore. So I like Matz. I think this is a pretty easy lineup to rip through for pitchers right now, especially lefties. So I think Matz showed enough signs 2 starts ago that I'm pretty comfortable he's healthy again.
Yeah, definitely am too. And Yankees, I mean, they don't strike out a ton, but 18% against lefties. They do rank 26th in WOBA against left-handed pitching. So overall, as you mentioned, I mean, pretty weak lineup to get through. I think Matz gets through comfortably and does get some run support on the other side as well.
Right. I don't think you're looking for 8Ks from Matz. You're just kind of looking for that 5 to 6 and then shutting them down. So if you can get that 8,800, I mean, under 9K for him is pretty good price.
Yeah, definitely. And Chad Green on the other side, I'm not really looking to use him against a lefty-heavy lineup in Yankee Stadium. I think that's just kind of a bad spot.
Yeah, so agreed.
White Sox and Tigers, Michael Fulmer versus Chris Sale. And Chris Sale, obviously going up against a Tigers team that he knows pretty well, and they know him pretty well. He hasn't pitched well against them this season. Obviously, I mean, Sale always can deliver some sort of upside, but given the fact that his strikeout rate's down from years past, I'm just not a big fan of the price or really this matchup. I know the Tigers haven't been great against lefties, but there's still a lot of pop there.
Yeah, I want to like Sale more than I do, but I don't know how much exposure I'm going to have. This is a tough matchup. Obviously, a lot of righties in there, and they obviously know each other well. Sale definitely a tournament guy. I don't know if he's getting into cash for me at 11.5.
No, I don't think so either. I think tournament at most. And on the other side, I mean, Michael Fulmer, this matchup against the White Sox, who against right-handed pitching, 26th in the world with 21% strikeout rate. I'm not in love with the price tag of him on DraftKings. FanDuel, it's a little bit more manageable at 8,500. But unfortunately, I mean, a win is not a lock given up. He's going up against Chris Sale. I think runs will be pretty low here. I don't mind him as a tournament guy, but I think I'm more just looking at him on FanDuel.
Yeah, this matchup kind of stinks. Kind of smells like compost, where like something could come out of it. Oh wait, I'm turning this analogy around. It stinks, but something good could come out of it and grow into a tree of some sort that we don't get to see. No, not in on either of these guys. I just think there's other. I'd rather go Mats than Fulmer, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I'd rather spin down to him, and that's where the thing. I mean, I think FanDuel, given that there is $1,000 difference between two, I think Fulmer's a little bit more of a viable option in comparison to on DraftKings, where the price tag really is
yeah. I think that's more. Yeah, that's more accurate to me. And even still, even paying up more for Mats, I think I'd rather go that. But he's in that range, but more of just a tournament guy to me.
Yeah, definitely. We got the Braves and the Pirates. Rob Whalen facing Jeff Locke, and I think Jeff Locke is going to carry some sort of intriguingness to people here, just because people are going to look at the last time he faced the Braves, and obviously he threw well. I mean, 6 strikeouts over 7 innings, allowing 2 earned, and got the win. And obviously, lefties against the Braves have been very good this year. Are you in on Locke? I mean, just a very cheap SP2.
So things change a little bit with Matt Kemp in the lineup, I think, because I mean he has really good splits against lefties. So, and Freeman kind of has someone behind him now. So I kind of like these Braves. I think that's a weird tournament way to go. Not necessarily confident in that, but at the same time, I'm definitely not using Locke.
I'm not a big fan of Locke. I'm just not a big fan of rostering a pitcher that really isn't that good. I know the matchup's fine. Obviously I do like the addition of Matt Kemp. It's going to help out a little bit. And you got a couple other righties in there, but overall it's not a good spot. Obviously I do think Locke is a deep tournament option as an SP2, because I mean obviously there still really is just Matt Kemp that you do worry about as far as lefty matchers. I mean, maybe throwing a Jeff Francoeur, but outside of that, I don't know. There's not much there.
Agreed.
So I'm not really looking to use him. I won't have much exposure. Maybe if I want to stack an expensive team, maybe I toss him in as just kind of a GPP hopeful. But that's really all it is to me.
Yeah, and Rob Whalen's probably the guy in your neighborhood who has the big truck and the big tires and like somehow has those smokestacks.
Rob
and wears cutoff flannel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the mud flaps with like the girl on it, like what I mean.
Yeah. And the guy, the little bumper sticker with the guy peeing on the thing or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Definitely. Yeah, Calvin.
Yeah.
Well, you can't use him anyway because he's not, doesn't have a salary, so you don't have to bother with using him.
But the point is, you need that visual to move forward.
Definitely. That's his analysis for today. He's a trucker in your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Royals and Rays next year. Jake Odorizzi versus Edison Volquez. Jake Odorizzi coming off a really strong start against the Yankees. Odorizzi is a guy who is better off at home. Mid 3 ERA. He does have a decent strikeout rate there. Averages about 5 more fantasy points per game at home. I don't mind him in this matchup. I think the Royals really aren't that great of an offense. 22nd WOBA against righties. The strikeout rate's pretty average. It's not anything that gives tremendous upside, but they still have an average strikeout rate that can get you 5 or 6 on a start. So I don't mind Odorizzi here.
I mean, he's been good his last 3 starts, including one against the Orioles. So you kind of worry about the upside with this Royals team a little bit. But at the same time, I think this is a pretty good matchup for him. I don't mind it in tournaments.
Yeah, I don't either. And I mean, he's close to me in cash games. I'm probably not going to quite go there, but he's one of those borderline plays as an SP2. as far as on FanDuel, I don't mind him in GPPs. I mean, 8,700. Edison Volquez on the other side. I wish he has been pitching better than he has been, because maybe I'd consider him against a Rays team that really isn't that good against righties. But I just think given Volquez just really hasn't looked right, I'm kind of fading him.
Yeah, that's not one I think you really need to go after. That's just kind of being contrarian to be contrarian, I think. But at the same time, I don't think you're necessarily looking at Rays against him either.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of really just the front end of that offense that maybe has some potential. But 1.41 whip this year, I mean, he's been giving up a ton of hits. I don't see any use for him on FanDuel, so it's just more talking DraftKings. And with that efficiency scoring, I'm not really a fan.
Right.
So I think Odorizzi, though, decent option at a pretty decent price.
Yeah.
So Twins and Indians next year. Indians -180 favorites. And after pretty much how these games have gone. I've got
the shakes, man. I saw this game coming up, and I was just done, like, with the Rays and Royals, because I was already shaking. Oh, boy, Trevor Bauer. What are you going to do to me now?
You know what this is? It's like, okay, we've been picking on the Twins all year, and all of a sudden they show up to school with, like, a pocket knife, and they just start going back at you.
Oh, my God!
like all of a sudden they just scare two bullies away, and, like, the third one's just standing there. He doesn't know what to do. And that's Trevor Bauer tonight.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about, like, a PG-13 movie where nobody gets, like, stabbed.
No one's getting stabbed. No one's getting stabbed.
All right. That's all right. Hold on. That's why I was like, wow, Jason's going down this road. I was like, this would be a job for Justin Morneau to get stabbed. Never mind, like, just random people.
But Trevor Bauer's the third bully that's left.
Yeah.
The other two have been sucker punched and they're going away. Like,
Trevor Bauer's got the slick back hair and the leather jacket, just pushing people around.
But he's nervous. Yeah. I mean, who's not nervous? I mean, about facing the Twins right now. I mean, we've seen it 2 games in a row where they've beaten up Salazar, they beat up Carrasco, and here comes Bauer, who hasn't been pitching well. I don't know, man. I mean, he's cheap. I mean, obviously, you know, there is some upside against the Twins in the strikeout department, but it's not a cash game play. That's for sure.
I mean, honestly, though, it's kind of like we've been using those first 2 starters as like, all right, give us your lunch money. We're going to use these guys in cash against you. And it's just, you know, so, I mean, yeah, I like Bauer, but at the same time, you have to worry about those lefties at this point, at least a little bit. I mean, Max Kepler's turning into a Joe DiMaggio over here. So, no cash games until further notice, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely has you uneasy. I do like that Bauer's price down a little bit. The 81 price tag makes it a little bit easier to stomach. He's only 8K on FanDuel, but obviously coming off a couple of rough starts, he's not been as dominant since that 3 to 4 start stretch he had earlier. But should definitely get some decent run support against Tyler Duffy. You know, with those Indians bats, Duffy's not a guy who I'll take a shot on.
Was it the Reds and the Cardinals that had a series like this earlier in the year? I think it was, where just every game it was like 10 runs apiece. And that was a lefty-heavy lineup too.
It may have been, because I think it may have been Martinez.
Votto and Bruce. Yeah, and then I remember the Indians going off too. So, I mean, this is just – I guess this is maybe a little trend here. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And here we jump into the Cardinals and Reds series, Cody Reed versus Michael Wacha. Mm-hmm. I think this lineup of the Reds looks a lot different without Bruce. I do think they take a step back, but they have been playing well since the break. Michael Wacha is a guy who I'm not really a big fan of in fantasy. Just never really a big high upside guy. In this matchup, I mean, obviously he should have a quality start, but obviously there is a little downside in that ballpark. But I guess nothing more than just kind of a value SP2 on DraftKings. That's about where I stand with him.
Yeah, 6K kind of makes you question it because he has a decent arm. But I'm not necessarily targeting this Reds team even without Jay Bruce right now, especially with like mediocre arms. So I still like the middle there. Their core of Votto, Duvall, and Cozart. I'm okay with that. We'll see what goes on with Cozart though. It sounded like he was maybe on the block as well or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure with him either. I mean, there's still a number of guys that can still leave, and I know Cozart was one of the guys out there. And Cody Reed on the other side, not really a guy who I'm looking to use. I know the Cardinals haven't been great against lefties this year, but I think I'm more inclined of taking right-handed bats for the Cardinals than actually using Reed.
Definitely, yeah. More looking at Cardinals here, Piscotty, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Astros and Blue Jays, Colin McHugh versus Marco Estrada. Marco Estrada is still, I don't think I've played him in a long time, just given the fact that his price tag is still very high. He does have a decent strikeout upside here, I think, just given the fact that the Astros, I mean, do strike out a ton, 24%. So I'm okay with Estrada and GPPs. I guess I like him a little bit more on FanDuel, just given he's 8,100. There's a big price difference there. So I guess I'm more in on him on FanDuel, just given that upside at the price.
I do like him for tournaments. I think he's intriguing to sort of go at this Astros team with the strikeout potential, but at the same time, just tournaments. Don't get foolish with cash games, even at that reduced price on FanDuel.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, not guy I'm looking to dive in cash, but you do look at the strikeout potential. I mean, on this slate, he's seventh in K percentage, 23%, decent swing strike rate, near 11%. So I'm okay with him. Obviously, he's a guy who, has kind of overachieved this year, in my opinion. So I'm always kind of waiting for that blow-up game with him.
Definitely.
As far as Colin McHugh goes on the other side, I'm not really looking to use him. Cheap arm coming off by far one of the worst starts I've seen in fantasy as a starting pitcher, and there's been a handful of them. But 8 runs, I mean, he got minus 16 DK points. Not that there's an indication of that happening again, but I don't see any real reason to use him in this matchup.
I mean, the Tigers did that to James Shields as well, where they just ambush you. There's just some days where it's just over from the beginning, and they're just going to crush you. So, I mean, I don't know how much of a sample I'm going to take from that. I think that was just, So, are we trusting him against the Blue Jays? No, but I mean, I don't think he's going to get shelled like that again.
No, I don't think so. He might make it to the third this time.
That's a good point. He could only give up 4 and it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, I know. So. At least he did better. He's trending upward.
As long as we're going in an upward trajectory, Colin, that's all we're looking for.
Rockies and Dodgers next here. Brock Stewart versus Tyler Anderson. Dodgers minus 25 favorites. 2 arms that I don't feel comfortable using here in Coors. Just an easy pass for me.
Yeah, pretty easy. We could make some jokes about Brock Stewart's name and being a badass.
I believe we did that before, yeah.
We definitely did, and I forget what we said. So that's unfortunate. But, yeah, not much to see here. I don't think we're just kind of class over this one.
Yeah, definitely. And A's Angels next year. Got Kendall Graveman versus Jared Weaver. Graveman's a guy who's, coming off a tough start against the Indians, but he wasn't all that bad. But overall, he's been pretty serviceable over the last month.
Very, very.
I'm not quite, a believer in a lot of upside here against the Angels. They're not a big strikeout team, especially Graveman, given he doesn't miss a ton of bats. However, I do think there is a quality start here. So if you are just solely looking for a quality start at his price, I don't hate it. And I don't even hate Weaver. That's a bad take, but I don't hate Weaver here.
Oh, well, I didn't expect that, but I wasn't sure you were going to be semi in on Graveman, but I was like, he's a deep tournament guy, I think. Like, he's at least viable. 5,700 obviously been pretty strong over the last month. Strikeout rate is not there, but at the same time, what has this Angels lineup done to really intimidate us into, being worried about them? So,
yeah, definitely. And you look at Weaver, I mean, this lineup kind of shakes out to where it's a lot of mediocrity. And the A's are one of those teams where they run hot and cold. And right now they haven't done much of anything. I mean, Valencia's, definitely cooled off. Vogt really hasn't been his usual self, although I don't mind him in this matchup. But everyone else, I mean, just kind of a lot of average bats.
That was a really good Katy Perry reference. That was like next level. I didn't even see that coming.
Well, it was so good I didn't even know I did one.
Yeah, hot and cold. Yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty good.
Okay. Because that's not
Yeah.
a usual term.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's average arms against average offenses here. I mean, that pretty much sums
really
it up.
is.
It
is the A's with a righty, so I mean, I guess you could play that angle, but
A's 27th in WOBA. I mean, a low ISO. You get Reddick out of there.
Rick Porcello. Rick Porcello.
Let's move on. Red Sox and Mariners. Rick Porcello. Hisashi Iwakuma.
Yeah. I'm not sure how comfortable I am with Porcello at 10-5 on DK. I don't like that price. I don't like this lineup against him. So that one kind of stinks too. Obviously he's double the price of those guys we were just looking at, so it's kind of a different standard, but I don't really like this grouping for him.
I'm not a big fan of the matchup. Mariners tough on right-handers. The price tag's high for me. Porcello's been good. I mean, he's been good this year. I mean, there's not a lot of times where he's given up those blown up starts. I mean, he's coming off 4 starts where he's had 20 plus DK points. So you can't quite write him off, especially against the Seattle team that he's tamed already once this season. But yeah, I think the price tag is 10-5 is a little up there. 9-1 is a little up there on FanDuel. So I think just price considered is what keeps me off. It's not necessarily the spot he's in.
Yeah, I just worry about all the lefties in that lineup. But yeah, totally agree. He has been really solid of late, so you can't totally ignore him. But in terms of the guys in his range, and even like a Mats and a few other guys we were talking about up at the top, not really a better play than them, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either. And Iwakuma on the other side is certainly a guy I'm not looking to use. I think there's a lot of cheaper options I'd rather kind of take a shot with.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So, definitely a game to not really be excited about for pitching, but not something that's really in favor of hitters either.
Right. So, I mean, for those mid-range guys, I think we're looking at Bauer, Odorizzi, Mats, Fulmer, like guys like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Those guys are the most intriguing at their prices. I mean, if you did want to dive down as far as SP2s go and make a real difference, I don't mind a Weaver, a Lock in deep tournaments, Graven. I don't mind those guys if you wanted to get weird, because obviously there's a core slate. So I mean, I'm assuming that some people will want to dive down at SP2 to take some shots with.
Right. And I mean, okay, so we go back up to Gausman. I get it. It makes sense.
I don't need your pity come around, Russell.
Good righty splits. So yeah, or lefty splits. I mean, so yeah, that's fair. I like him as a tournament guy. Yeah, so there. I've amended my statement from earlier. Fair game.
I don't like him now.
Oh, all right. The old switcheroo.
That's going to wrap things up with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.